Not too long ago, I talked about how Nintendo and their latest platform, the Switch, are arguably going to have their best year yet. With a killer games library of exclusive and even third-party multi-platform games already in the mix for 2019, with likely many more to be announced, while entering the massive sales momentum on the back of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, 2019 could be the best year for not only collective game releases for the platform, but it also may be the de facto peak year for Switch console sales. That's all well and good, and as a Nintendo fan like many of you, we have plenty of reasons to be extremely excited this year, especially with a pending Nintendo Direct this month staring us squarely in the face. Of course, that doesn't mean Switch is a perfect platform. No platform really is, and I want to address some things Nintendo can, and more importantly should, improve upon here in 2019, in the midst of the impending sales success stories and the exclusive content binge buying that is surely going to happen this year. Let's first address arguably Nintendo's biggest elephant in the room, their classic library of games. Nintendo announced in December they would not be producing NES or SNES classics anymore, with a focus on the Nintendo Switch Online service becoming a virtual console replacement. While a cheap service, the current game selection is pretty lacking, while being limited to a single system. In 2019, this needs to change, and not just in the way of adding SNES games into the mix. The library of NES and SNES games on Switch should rightfully be in the hundreds, and N64, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance games should all be joining that fray as well. Is it too much to dream for GameCube? We live in a time period now where Nintendo has scared away many of the popular ROM hosting sites, and while many will view this as a positive, Nintendo is currently pulling a Microsoft without needing to say the words. When Xbox One was heading into launch in 2013, Microsoft was advertising the system as an always online system that required the internet to play games. This ended up being an idea that they axed before launch, but when touting that feature, and I use that term sarcastically, they said they still had a solution for those without internet, such as the military, that are serving overseas and may not readily have internet available to them at all times. That solution was to pick up an Xbox 360. Similarly, without a true virtual console replacement, and now the ending of production of the classic systems, we are currently left with a selection of 29 NES games. Sure, they have added online functionality to them, which is nice, but is not nearly as nice as a huge game selection on the whole. Keep in mind that 29 games total is still one less game than came with the NES Classic Edition, and a huge chunk of the NES Classic games are not even represented yet on the Nintendo Switch Online service. So the current solution, beyond going to the depths of the internet and illegally downloading ROMs, is to simply buy a 3DS and Wii U. A very Microsoft-like solution to a self-created problem with their most recent platform. Assuredly, Nintendo is going to do more with the service, and it may be addressed in the next Nintendo Direct and throughout the year. I am not suggesting Nintendo won't address this, but they simply haven't done so yet. And regardless of how many games and systems get added to their service, there is still the question of ownership. As a service-only feature with zero ability to purchase individual titles, the moment Nintendo shuts down that service, there also goes your access to all of those games. In some regards, this is where Nintendo should be taking a page out of Microsoft's playbook. Microsoft offers 3 ways to play classic games, 2 of which are viable for Nintendo. On Xbox One, you can pop in most Xbox and Xbox 360 discs, and yes, simply play the games. This solution isn't possible for Switch, at least without external add-ons. Out of the box, Switch doesn't really solve that issue. However, Microsoft offers a vast majority of their old library of games both as a service through their Game Pass and also to purchase individually as well. Nintendo currently has gone the service route, and it is cheaper than what Microsoft offers, but it also presently has a much smaller library of games, and Microsoft Service also includes all new exclusive releases as well. I don't think Nintendo needs to go that far. We're just talking about the classics here. But the ability to have more of their games added to the current service should be expected, while also having an option to buy them individually. Nintendo has literally done this in the past with Virtual Console, so Nintendo should be offering both methods. But unfortunately, I think the most we can hope for is that they just add more games and systems en masse to the current Nintendo Switch online service. Bare minimum, we at least should be communicated to as consumers that pre-purchased years of this service, what we can actually expect out of said service down the line, a point of communication that is pretty lacking on the whole from the big N. Next up, Nintendo needs to find a way to address the eShop, in particular the discovery and navigation of games. They have made minor tweaks here and there, and there are some nice options on the shop already, with the bestsellers list and the coming soon section being notable, along with a sales tab. However, I suggested last year that they should be using a more Netflix-like approach to help gamers find more games that are similar to their tastes, and just overall glance at YouTube and Netflix to learn some navigation tips while dealing with thousands and thousands of game options. The default screen, in my opinion, should have a rotating featured area at the top and then different categories going horizontally on down. The first section being a suggested content slider that will literally suggest to you games you don't already own that are similar to games you already own, based on metrics such as genre, amount of games purchased in said genre, and even statistics they do track on Switch, such as playtime. This is a great way to still promote games from the entire library on Switch, regardless of when those games released, and have a more targeted way to market them. The next horizontal bar can simply be a recent releases, just like what they do on Netflix. From there are many options and ways they could go, from categories on genres, or yes, even a best rated game section. While I don't think user ratings on a place like the eShop give you a nice idea of what's great on the whole, such as Nintendo games are typically 4.5 to 5-star rating regardless of what game it is good for helping you avoid shovelware when you aren't 100% sure if one indie game or another is worth your time. It's something we had on the Wii U and absolutely should return for that use case alone. There are other ways they can improve navigation, but I think this more Netflix-like approach would really make the eShop that much more enjoyable to use. Speaking of online-related features, it's probably time for Nintendo to address 3 other elephants in that room. First off is the lack of a web browser. With the Switch's core system literally being a tablet, it has never made more sense on a quote-unquote video game console to have a web browser than it does on Switch. Yes, you can technically access an unfinished browser that exists in the operating system through some password forgetting measures with social media accounts, but something more officially supported, updated, and intended to be accessed would be appreciated. I'm not going to pretend that browsing the internet on my Switch would replace, say, my phone or a proper PC or laptop, but it should be a convenience that simply exists, especially as a possible way for kids to have their first internet-enabled device. Another one is allowing voice chat on the platform natively. The app actually works slightly better than I expected for voice chat, at least when it comes to quality, but having the ability to use voice chat locally on the platform would be a welcomed boon for the system, especially since some third-party games, like Fortnite, already allow you to do it. Fortnite should not have functionality voice chat-wise on Switch that Nintendo games don't. Fortnite shouldn't be nerfed, Nintendo games should just step up to the plate. The other is having a system in place for messaging or contacting people on your friends list. There is oodles of functionality like this on basically every other platform and device out there, from phones, tablets, and PCs to Xbox One and PlayStation. Heck, even 3DS and Wii U before Miiverse was shut down. I'm not going to sit here and say that they can and should provide every option like other devices do, but seeing them add even one basic form of communication would be welcomed in 2019. The last online-related feature I want to see them improve in 2019 is the selection of multimedia apps. To their credit, they have finally allowed more than just Hulu on the platform, with a pretty great comic reading app and YouTube. But in 2019, Switch will be entering its third year on the market, and we still are missing so many more services the Switch can handle. Netflix, Amazon Prime, a movie rental service like Vudu, and so much more. Nintendo has never had the most options for this in the past, but they have had better options. The fact that the Nintendo Wii has a better selection of these applications before the eShop was shut down, that is, when that was a 2006 platform, than one released in 2017, is pretty shocking to say the least. I know, like any other improvements, many of us have other ways to enjoy this content or browse the web. It's just that having the option there to do it on Switch would be a basic offering for a tablet-based platform. I know right now it may seem like I am nitpicking and possibly even criticizing the Switch, but I think at this juncture it's important to note that I absolutely adore the Switch, and it may be my favorite Nintendo platform ever created. However, we can and should be expecting Nintendo to continue to improve the system over time. There are hardware-related things they can address in a revision. As an example, a better kickstand solution, better battery life, smaller bezels, and even a portable dock accessory that's not as bulky would be welcomed in 2019. Alternatively, official Joy-Cons, such as ones with a D-pad, or ones designed after, say, the GameCube controller for Smash portable play, should exist. And it actually hurts to say that, as I'm ready to move beyond the GameCube controller design. That being said, Nintendo has a potential goldmine of concepts they could do with detachable and replaceable controllers and accessories, that it shouldn't be limited to just $60 NES controllers that are considered a special offer, that you have to pay money to even have the privilege for the option to buy them. This year, they should really start experimenting with it, and nothing should really be considered too crazy. After all, these are accessories and not what would come packed in with a Switch. I'm sure all of you can think of ways you too would like to see Nintendo Switch improve this year. There are so many different ways to simply enhance the current system that I could spend weeks talking about them all. So instead, I toss the microphone over to all of you. Please head to the comments and let me know, what would you like to see Nintendo and Switch improve upon this year? This op-ed editorial was made possible thanks to our supporters on patreon.com/Nintendo Prime. We have lots of perks and benefits over there, such as an exclusive Discord server, early access to our podcast, credit at the end of reviews. Plus, you are helping not only support the work we do here every single day, but also helping us launch new features like these weekly op-ed editorials. Next up is game reviews. After that is episodes of SideQuest every week and all of that stuff. There is stretch goals available. Go ahead and check that out if you want, because this channel literally cannot survive without your support. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.